Hi everyone, welcome to Java Techie. Java has been with us for over 30 years, and every release it brings cool features that improve the productivity, right? And this time we have got Java 25, which is another LTS release, or you can say long term support release after JDK 21. And it came up with a bunch of updates, and that will make you say, okay, maybe upgrading is not such a bad idea, because most of the time we don't really pay attention to every single update until we actually start using them. But trust me, this one is worth it. Now I know what you might be thinking. Do we really need another version so soon? But trust me, Java 25 is more than just a version bump. It comes with powerful upgrades that not only modernize the way we think about Java but also make it easier for newcomers who want to build their career with Java. So let's break it down: what's new, what's useful, and what you should actually care about in Java 25. Okay, alright. So without any further delay, let's get started. So if you want to explore JDK 25 features, you can come to this OpenJDK official page. Then you can find here all the features. You can see here, right? They list down all the features. Few are in the preview state, few are in the experimental state, and few are in the enhancement state. So in this tutorial, we'll discuss those features which are not in preview state, and also we'll discuss those features which I can at least give you some demo with code. Okay, so you can see there is something called scoped value, then key derived function API, module import and declaration, compact source file, and instance main method. This is one of my favorite feature in Java 25, and it's not only for me. Whoever the newcomers moving towards Java, they will love these features. Okay, then flexible constructor bodies. These are the features we are going to discuss in details with example. Okay, you will also find my Medium blog on Java 25. I will share the link in video description. In this particular blog, I have defined all the required link, JDK 25 official page and JDK 25 download link, and then all the features which we are going to discuss. Okay. Now at very first step, to start with Java 25, you need to download the JDK. So this is the link to download the JDK. You can find JDK 25. Then if you will scroll down, you will find OS specific link to download JDK 25. Since already I installed it, I can directly go to the IntelliJ and I will show you Java version what I am using here. I am using Java version 25, which was released on this, and it is a LTS long term support release after JDK 21. Okay, fine. So we have JDK 25 installed. Now let's discuss each and every features. So let's begin with the first feature, that is instance main methods. Now imagine a recent graduate come to you and ask you to teach Java. Then what you will do? At very first step, when we started learning Java, first thing our teacher or our trainer show us how to run a hello world program. So simply you will write a main method and you will print hello world. That's it. Now just run this particular program. You will find this hello world string in console output. We are seeing the output. Now what student understand, okay, there is some string hello world. If I will write the code or if I will follow this particular syntax, I can run some statement. But before explain him how to write a main method or hello world program, you must need to explain him different type of access modifier, what is static keyword, what is void, and what all return types are available, what is this method signature, how to define methods, what is this array, what is the arguments we are giving. All these things you need to explain to the student to just run hello world program. This is not easy and quite frustrated for newcomers, right? So to consider these things, what Java 25 does, he released something called instance main methods. Now you no need to write public static void main. You can comment this. Simply write this void, then define main, then write the logic whatever you want. Sys out hello world. Now run it. We got the result. Now how simple is this for the new one who start learning Java? He no need to even remember this syntax. This is the entry point for Java application, right? He no need to care about this. Now let's say he want to access something. You have defined int I equal to 10 and he want to print this. He can simply print sys out value of I is this. Now run it. We got the result 10. Before Java 25, to access this particular field, you need to create the object of this particular class, right? Like this. Then do feature I, features dot I. This usually you need to do if you are trying to access that instance field inside a static method. Okay, so now Java 25 make it easy. Since the method itself is a instance method, you can directly access all the instance member without creating their object like this. Okay, this is one of the main advantages, or I can say key attraction for newcomers to choose Java as a programming language. Now let's move to the next feature, that is compact source files. This is another interesting features. Now in Java, if you are writing something while learning the things, you must need to define the class, then write the logic. Now what compact source files does, it allows developers to write the code without even define the class. I can remove this bracket. That's it. Now this is my class. I mean, if anything I want to do for quick testing, I don't need to define the class name. I simply define the void main, which is nothing, the instance main method in Java 25. Then I will start writing the logic. I will define the method here. Then I can simply call this method, do something. Okay, anything you can directly write without define the class. Now also if you want, you can do something like this. Now I want to create some class, okay, but I don't want to define that as a compact class file. Now what I can do, new, then go to file, and you can define something like demo.java. Now here it is. You can't find the class icon. Are you able to see the class icon here, like employee and other class? No, right? Because this is the class will be created automatically by the compiler and it will be final. You cannot extend it, and also there will be a default no argument constructor that will not visible to you. Okay, so again start defining the main method, void main, and you can write the logic here. Okay, anything if you want you can do here. That's how the compact source file helps developer to start write the logic without defining class for their testing. Now also if you want to print something in the console, you must need to write the system out println, where system is a class, out is a reference, println is a overloaded method. Correct? So if you see here println, you will find couple of methods which is overloaded. Now that also simplified using IO helper. You no need to define this, or even you no need to explain, okay, system is a class, out is a variable, println is a methods, what is overloaded methods, explain everything to the newcomers. That is also not required. There is a package called IO. Okay, you can find something called java.lang IO, and here you can say println. Now you can define hello world. Anything you want to do, you can define here. Now if I'll open this particular class IO, this is a final class. You will find, see the methods println, which will write the statement and add the new line, print, which will just append the statement, read ln. This is similar to the you remember, whenever you want to take the user input in traditional approach, you use scanner system.in, right, like this. Now if you see here, I want to take some input from the user. I need to write earlier new scanner system.in, enter your name, then print that name. Let's run it. Enter your name, I'll give Java Techie. I got the statement. But in IO helper, this is also simplified. You no need to define this scanner class additionally. What you can do, you can simply define IO, enter your name, IO dot read line, not line actually, ln. Okay. Then you can simply print. This is your name. Now if you'll run it, I'll define the name. I got the message. So in Java 25, this compact source file, write the logic without having class, and this IO helper. This is really much simpler for developer who just want to test their things quickly. Okay, without taking the headache of object creation, defining the class, and all the other activities. Okay, so I believe this makes sense, and this is what even I found more helpful for the newcomers to easily catch the things in Java. Fine. Now let's move to the next feature, that is module import declaration. Okay, what is that? Let me explain you. So I have created one class. Now if you check, there is something called modular example. There is no rocket science in the code. I have used all the possible class to just add more and more import statement. Okay, so I have used list, I have also used map, then set, some random object, then file IO, buffer reader, connection, big integer, big decimal. I mean this particular class don't have any meaningful code. I just added a few class to show that how this module import declaration help us to reduce import statement. So if you check this class, we have multiple import statement. Now you no need to define these import statement, and you no need to make things bulky, just remove it. Now how we can add those library, then how we can use list, map, set, random, all these step. So for that we have something called module import declaration. Let me add a comment. This is the features. Now how you can import the module, you can simply import module, then you can define Java base. Inside Java base, all these list, map, all these class comes under this particular module. Similarly, for SQL related step, what you can do, you can define import module Java SQL. That's it. 20 or 15 import statement, we reduce it to just 2 module import. Okay, this is another feature of Java 25. Now let's move to the next feature, that is flexible constructor bodies. Okay, let me close this. Now let's say I have a class called person. Person has field name and age, and also it has a parameterized constructor. Now technically think in Java, if I want to call this constructor, how can I call it? Using this method. If I want to call the superclass constructor in child class, how I can do that? I need to use the super. For example, since my person has parameterized constructor, now I have an employee class. If I will extend this particular class from person, first of all this will cry because your parent has a parameterized constructor, so you must need to create your child class constructor and call that. Otherwise it will simply give you the compilation error. Now before Java 25, this must be the first statement. Before that, if I want to write something, it will give me the compilation error. So if that is the restriction, then I can't validate this age, right? If let's say I want to write some customized logic in the constructor, if I got the input age less than 18, I want to do some, or I want to restrict that employee or person, I cannot do that validation, because before this super I cannot write anything. This must be the first statement in your constructor. Now what Java 25 does, it flexible that constructor bodies. Now here, before your super method, you have option to write the logic. For example, if I'll check here, if age greater than 18, eligible for job or something like that, I want to write something. You can write something. Sys out employee constructor called. Okay. So with Java 25, constructors are finally flexible. You can now run validation logic, calculation or logging before the super statement. Okay, making object initialization much cleaner and safer in Java 25. All good, right? So now let's move to the next feature, that is scoped values. Okay, so this is another interesting feature introduced in Java 25. Scoped value is a new feature in Java that allow you to share immutable data which cannot be changed across methods within a thread and its child thread. Okay, it is designed to be simpler and more efficient than thread local. Now if you remember, in thread local, let me show you one simple example. In thread local, I can keep some statement local to that thread, or I can keep some value or object local to that thread by defining this thread local, then current thread dot set this. Now if same current user I need to pass to the multiple thread as a local object, then I need to explicitly set the value. Can you see here, this is thread 1 and I set the value, thread 2 I set the value. Now if I'll run this, I got the result. Now the way in thread local we explicitly define, similarly in scoped value it has a limited lifeline. Once the scope ended, the binding automatically disappears. Whatever the value you have set for that scope will automatically disappear. Now for example, I already wrote a simple example to just demonstrate the scoped value. Now I have something called request handler. Okay, now what I does, I have defined one method called handled request. First I have defined the scoped value, the way we have defined thread local and set the value. Similar way I have defined the scoped value. This is what the syntax, scoped value dot new instance. Fine. Then once you have the scoped value reference, in the handle request method I set the value, the request id, which is my input, nothing, my random uid string. Okay, that is what I want to pass the request id across all the method calls, so that it will easy for me to debug the flow. Okay, so there is a method called authenticate, I have passed it inside the log. Okay, I have defined a method called log string message, and I also capturing the request id. Okay, now similarly I have another method called fetch data. In that fetch data method also I have log. Okay, which will print the request id. See, this will really helpful in production if you are debugging a flow. By keeping a simple request id or trace id, you can visualize where all the request went and what happened to that request. So I am trying to design such kind of scenario using scoped value. So I have defined a method called log, and main goal to print the request id. Now inside the fetch data method, first I got the current request id, and then I have created another thread and I set that to the scoped value. Now child thread fetching related data, I have added another logs. My goal here to show you that not only in the method call but also inside a child thread you should use the value, scoped value. Okay, then I start the thread and I wait for child thread to execute. All good, right? I'll share the source code, nothing to worry. This is very simple example. Now if I'll run this particular class, I can see the flow. This is what my request ID. First start processing request, then it went to the authenticate methods, then it went to the fetch data methods. Inside that there is a thread, child thread, that also use the same scoped value. Then it finished the process. Okay, can you see here? In all my flow, I'm able to use the same trace ID or request ID using scoped value. This is very interesting for real time. Now let's move to the next feature, that is called KDF API, or you can say key derivation function. Okay, now what is that? I'll tell you. So I have something called KDF demo. Okay, so this feature is called key derivation function. Now why it matters? Sometimes you don't want to use raw password or weak key directly for encryption. So this KDF strays the key material, making it safe for cryptography, okay, or for encryption. Now the common use case you can consider: encrypting files with a password. Each file can have a secure key derived from your password, like this. Okay, I have defined some password. I want to generate a secured key to use it. Now let's take another example, your client server communication. Okay, if you remember, we are using HTTPS for certificate. For that also you can generate the session key, okay, or your TLS key. Now cloud storage, one root key can derive many key for different files, okay, which will also help you to improve the security. Now in Java 25, the KDF API let you do this cleanly and safely. For example, I have defined the password here, Java Techie. I convert it to the char array. Now I generate a random salt for extra security using these methods. Now in third step, what I am doing, I am using PBE key spec, and see the parameter what I am giving. I am giving password, which is nothing, the string with two char array, then salt, what I generate using the secure random. Then the interesting part, you need to understand iteration count and key length. Okay, what this iteration count means: if you will do more iteration, it will be safe. The attacker cannot be easily decrypt it. So here, how many times we are doing this iteration? 65k, or you can consider it as a 65k times we are doing the hashing of our key. Now this length 256, this is desired key length in bits. Okay, so this is the standard number usually we do use. Now in the fourth step, what I am doing, from secret key factory, I am trying to get the derived key. Now what algorithm I am using here? This one. This is the standard secure KDF algorithm, and you can also say password based key derivation function, a well known standard for industry to generate the derived key. I mean, these are the predefined class and methods, guys. I no need to explain line by line what I am doing. You just debug it and understand what exactly each parameter does. Okay, then once you derive the key, you can print it. I just convert it to the bytes to hex or hexa string, and I simply print them. Now if I'll run it, see here, this is what my derived key. Now you can use this particular key to encrypt the file, to make the secure connection between client and server. Okay, so this is what another features of KDF in Java 25, and I found this is really helpful because you no longer need third party library to encrypt the things. You can safely implement password based encryption right out of the box using this KDF. Okay, so well, these enhancements not only make your code more modern but also open up new possibility for writing clean, maintainable and secure application. So take these features for a spin, experiment with them by writing different example, and let me know in a comment section if you have any doubts.